Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a big topic to dive into. Something that's been making noise in the Bears community over the past few days. And yes, it involves a true Bears legend, Brian Urlacher. Now, for those of you who may not know, Urlacher recently appeared on Johnny Manziel's podcast. I know, right? Johnny Manziel has a podcast now. Honestly, I had no idea either, but I gave it a listen. And I've got to say, it was actually pretty entertaining. The thing that really stood out, though, was how positive Urlacher was about the current state of the Chicago Bears. And considering how critical he's been over the years, that definitely caught my attention. Before we jump headfirst into everything Urlacher had to say, let me throw this question at you guys. Who's your all-time favorite Chicago Bears player? For me, I've said it before and I'll say it again, my personal favorite is Devin Hester. Not necessarily the best player in franchise history, but man, just pure entertainment every time he touched the ball. Watching him return kicks was electric. Now obviously, if we're talking about the greatest Bear of all time, you're looking at guys like Walter Payton. But I didn't grow up watching Payton play. I wasn't even alive back then, so from a fan perspective, from someone who actually got to watch these guys live, Hester's the one for me. But I'd love to hear from you guys down in the comments who's your favorite Bears player ever. Alright, now let's talk about what Urlacher had to say, because this is where things get interesting. He joined the Glory Days podcast with Johnny Manziel, and one of the biggest topics of discussion was none other than Caleb Williams, the Bears' new quarterback and #1 overall pick. Let's not forget, Urlacher was never shy about criticizing Justin Fields during his time in Chicago. Urlacher was pretty clear that the Bears had no choice but to move on and draft Caleb Williams. So it's no surprise that he's been on the pro Caleb train for a while now. But in this interview, Urlacher took it a step further. He said, and I'm quoting here, "I think he's going to be really good. If you put him in a different situation last year, he could have been Rookie of the Year. You see what Cliff Kingsbury did with Jaden Daniels and what Sean Payton did with Bo Nix. That's a pretty strong statement. And honestly, he's not wrong. Caleb Williams, despite not fully living up to the enormous hype that surrounded him entering the NFL, still put up respectable numbers as a rookie. And let's be real, he did that with a coaching staff that was, quite frankly, a disaster. I mean, looking back now, I feel like a complete fool for being excited about the Shane Waldron hire. On paper, it made sense. The guy came from Seattle, worked with Russell Wilson, and had experience in a solid offensive system. But man, once you saw him in press conferences and watched how this offense played on Sundays, it became painfully obvious that this guy was not the answer. Honestly, I don't know how anyone sat in those interview rooms, listened to him talk, and walked away thinking, yep, that's our guy. The more we saw, the more it became clear that Pete Carroll was the real leader in Seattle and that Waldron wasn't exactly someone who could step up and take command of an entire offense on his own. And let's be real, when you've got a head coach like Matt Eberflus, who's not exactly an offensive mastermind, you need your offensive coordinator to have a strong, commanding presence. And unfortunately, Waldron just wasn't that guy, so fast forward. And here we are with another coaching shakeup. Eberflus got fired, Waldron got fired, and the Bears had to switch play callers to Thomas Brown mid-season. Just an absolute mess, from top to bottom. So yeah, when Urlacher says that Caleb would have looked a lot better in a different environment, it's hard to argue with that. Would he have beaten Jaden Daniels for Rookie of the Year? Probably not, considering how incredible Daniels was. I mean, Daniels had one of the best rookie seasons we've ever seen from a quarterback. But could Caleb have outperformed Bo Nix if he had been in Denver with Sean Payton? That seems like a much more reasonable take. One think most of us would agree that in a stable system with decent coaching, Caleb Williams would have had a much better shot at success last year. And that brings us to the current coaching situation in Chicago. Urlacher didn't hold back when talking about the Bears' track record since letting go of Lovie Smith. He straight up said, ever since they got rid of Lovie Smith, there's been no consistency in the coaching department. It's not the players' fault, but that's just the way it goes. And honestly, that's been the reality for over a decade now. The revolving door of head coaches in Chicago has been brutal to watch. But here's where it gets interesting. Urlacher is all in on Ben Johnson. He loves the hire. He thinks Johnson is the perfect guy to work with Caleb Williams and finally bring some offensive identity to this team. And that's something worth paying attention to. Urlacher isn't the kind of former player who blindly cheers for the team or sugarcoats things. He's not afraid to call players or coaches out when he thinks they aren't good enough. He was openly critical of Justin Fields from early on, pointing out limitations in his game as a passer. I remember when Erroll first started making those comments, I kind of pushed back. I wanted to believe that Fields had enough talent to overcome the chaos around him, and to be fair, I still think Fields didn't get the fairest shake in Chicago. But looking back now, Erroll wasn't wrong about the issues Fields had as a quarterback. So when a guy like Erroll, who's not afraid to say, "That guy stinks," comes out and says he believes in Ben Johnson and thinks Caleb Williams is going to do well under him, that carries some weight. Erroll has seen good coaching. He played under Lovie Smith, and that team had real success. They were consistently competitive, made it to a Super Bowl, and had one of the best defenses in the league for years. Erroll knows what good leadership looks like, and on the flip side, he's also seen what bad coaching can do to a locker room. He lived through the disaster that was the Mark Trestman era. In fact, Lance Briggs even said publicly that after their very first team meeting with Trestman, both he and Erroll knew right away that it was going to be a train wreck. And think about that for a second. One meeting was all it took for experienced veterans like Erroll and Briggs to realize the guy wasn't cut out for the job. That's how important first impressions and leadership presence are in the NFL. You go from a guy like Lovie Smith, who commanded the room and had total respect, to Mark Trestman, coming straight from the CFL, and the difference was night and day. The results speak for themselves. Lovie Smith wasn't perfect, but he was well above .500 and took the Bears to a Super Bowl. Trestman lasted just 2 years. John Fox didn't do much better with 3 years and a losing record. Matt Nagy had one great season at 12-4, but after that, it was all downhill. Then we had Matt Eberflus, who, let's just call it like it is, was one of the worst head coaches we've ever seen in Chicago since firing Lovie Smith. The Bears have gone 76-120. That's 76 wins and 120 losses. I don't even need to look up the numbers to know that's got to be one of the bottom 5 records in the entire NFL over that span. Just brutal. And that's why there's this lingering sense of I'll believe it when I see it among Bears fans. Right now, the optimism is there, but it's cautious optimism. People are excited about Ben Johnson, but they've been burned too many times before. For what it's worth, I've been wanting Ben Johnson for the past 2 years. When this coaching search started, he was at the top of my list. And Erroll being this vocal in his support makes me feel even better about it. But let's keep it real, we won't truly know if Ben Johnson is the right guy until the game starts, and we see how this team looks on the field. There's a huge difference between being a great offensive coordinator and being a successful head coach, managing an entire locker room, handling game decisions, setting the culture. It's a whole different ball game. That said, it does mean something that someone like Erroll, who's been in both good and bad locker rooms, is giving this hire his stamp of approval. When he says he believes in Ben Johnson and thinks Caleb Williams will thrive under him, I'm going to take notice. This isn't some fluff piece from a talking head on TV. This is coming from one of the best players to ever wear a Bears uniform. And let's be honest, Erroll doesn't hand out compliments easily. So yeah, it gets me a little more fired up for the upcoming season. It's not like I'm jumping all the way to a 10 out of 10 on the confidence scale, but I'm definitely more optimistic. If I had to rate my confidence level in Ben Johnson right now, I'd probably put it at a solid 7. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself because, like I said, we've been excited before and it hasn't worked out. But there's just something about this hire, combined with Erroll's endorsement, that feels different. And now, I'm turning it over to you guys. How confident are you in Ben Johnson? On a scale from 1 to 10, with 1 being not confident at all and 10 being super confident, where do you stand right now? Let me know down in the comments. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears, and don't be shy, drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. A startling rumor is circulating around Hollis Hall, sending ripples through the Bears faithful and sparking questions about the future of star running back DeAndre Swift. Unconfirmed reports suggest that if the whispers are true, a significant shift in the Bears' backfield could be on the horizon. Sources close to the team, speaking on condition of anonymity, claim that head coach Ben Johnson, hypothetically at the helm for this exercise, has been heard expressing significant dissatisfaction with Swift's performance. The most jarring alleged quote circulating is a definitive, "He's not playing for me anymore," attributed to Johnson regarding Swift. While such a blunt declaration would undoubtedly rock the team and its fans, it's crucial to stress that these are currently unverified rumors. Neither Coach Johnson nor anyone from the Bears front office has commented on the speculation. However, the sheer force of the alleged statement has fueled intense debate among analysts and supporters alike. Swift, who signed a lucrative deal with the Bears this offseason, was expected to be a cornerstone of the team's offensive strategy. If there's any truth to these whispers, it would indicate a dramatic and swift pun-intended change of heart from the coaching staff. The reasons behind such a hypothetical fallout remain entirely speculative, ranging from locker room dynamics to on-field performance issues that have yet to become public. For now, the air in Hollis Hall is thick with anticipation and uncertainty. Bears fans will be keenly watching for any official statements or actions that might either confirm or debunk this surprising and potentially seismic rumor. The possibility of Swift's departure, even as a mere whisper, is enough to ignite a firestorm of discussion about the team's direction and future roster moves. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.